work it for the schedule, and if you can make it, that would free Jacqueline or I up to go and listen to some music.
I mean, I can't sit there and listen to the music.
Yeah, I could be there from, for sure, 1 to 4.
Okay, great.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
We're gonna do another one of those.
If I can
soon.
miss, my problem, I
So I hope Alan doesn't want to go anywhere.
You want to go to both festivals?
Awesome, that's good.
Yeah, I can come in.
Yeah,
Is that
If
on?
I'd known, I could have gone up there.
it's kind of a fun question.
I don't know.
We validated it.
Yeah, it absolutely
Gate,
validated.
gate 3 was.
That's what validates being the,
I apologize, I had a
Consideration.
check for my onion bread.
have we got anybody else then? That's it. Good. Okay, let's call the meeting in order. Thank you, everybody. And I guess we'll start right off from the top here and approval of the agenda. Anybody want to look at it?
Could we please move 5.6?
5.6.
Just so that it's, 5.2, if it could come right after the fundraising piece,
Oh, 5.6,
just move it up.
and then remember.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, at fundraising, okay.
Yeah,
Sophie doesn't want to sit and listen to us for a
well, I
while?
just think, Sophie's maximizing out her time.
Just part of 5.1 next steps, I just was gonna quickly flash up the checklist and our concept of why we're doing that.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
But that's just part of next steps.
Yep.
That's not a separate thing.
And that's in the old bit.
So that was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the open.
Okay, bump all the other ones up. Anything else? Anybody want to put in there? Just new business, just put 6.2 in for other or something.
For 6.1A?
Well, 618, sure. Yeah, easy.
So I can fill in.
All right, somebody want to move that?
Slot.
Good. Second.
I'm sorry.
All in favor? Thank you. And that is approved. The adoption of the minutes. Does everybody have chances to fire through the last minutes?
They're okay,
Okay.
except for one small change of a had to a has, I think.
Okay. So Allison's moved it. Seconded.
Did you ask for all in favor yet?
Somebody had to second it. No, that's for all in favor.
Oh,
Good,
I-
Rod. There's the man all in favor.
I think we have to situate plugging in the committee so you can do that, but anyhow, doesn't matter. I thought Kathy stuck her hand up too.
You guys finished? All in
Yep.
favor?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, move on to public comments. 0 public comments today. Action items. Pass it over to you, Sam, if you would like.
Page 749 in the package has the action items. Number 1 was prepare a briefing paper package to present at UBCM. We worked on that a little bit.
Okay.
Have something prepared.
Okay.
It'll continue to get updated before UBCM.
All right.
We did a
Oh, so
briefing
you're
on
not
it.
circulating?
No, thanks.
But who are we hoping to meet at UBCM on that one?
Well, we've asked, I hope, to meet with Brian Bedford,
Yep.
Liam Edwards,
Yeah,
and,
because we got
we've
ferment
also,
on the Ministry of,
well, we don't know, have we heard yet?
no, we haven't, we don't have confirmations yet.
One way or the other from anybody.
Yeah, one rejection.
One rejection.
Who rejected
Who
it?
did we get rejected?
They referred it, I think, one of our requests to another ministry.
Oh,
Selena?
did they refer us to
but
staff?
that was,
level?
but she's municipal affairs as well, right?
Municipal affairs and housing is
Yeah.
rejected.
Who
Okay.
you wanna talk about this is transportation and infrastructure.
But I thought we also wanted to talk with Selena. I thought that was the recommendation from Pamela Goldsmith-Jones, was that we were also to meet with Selena
I
Robinson.
think we tried and.
Well,
Yeah, yes, I was just
Yeah.
wondering if we
No.
still had someone else. We had another.
Well, we're meeting with her staff, which is
Yeah.
Brian Bedford and Liam Edwards, and I think.
We don't have that confirmed yet either, but I'm assuming
No,
that.
I
But we
don't
still
have
have
that.
one avenue still left.
Yes,
That's all I
yes.
was trying to
Yeah,
make sure that
Absolutely, yeah.
it wasn't.
And I'm
we
not
had-
sure how much she
It's not
actually
a dead
does.
end yet.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, briefing paper, Sam's all over it, and,
And basically,
enough.
just to summarize, we were gonna use the materials from Gate 3 because it's a
Yep.
good summary material.
Yep.
Everyone's already seen that and gone through it, and
Yep.
it's just a
Well,
briefing note.
Just
for
a little bit
those
of an
us that
update,
are
that's all.
going and going to be presenting it, it would be nice if we could see it before it was finalized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% agree.
What's the date again?
I don't know.
Well, it
It's the
starts at
week
10.
of the 10th to the
September.
14th.
Yeah.
Now, whether they'll ask for the briefing paper beforehand or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different process this year that they're
Yeah.
doing, so.
Probably if we had it ready sort of early September.
Yeah, just so
sometime,
it's ready. Good.
Just in case,
Um,
for our first
The
draft.
only- I would say we have a first draft, and part of the other updates we'll go through. We'll just touch it up before
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
finalized.
Yeah, perfect.
Item number 2 was related to a stakeholder engagement meeting with Chris Corrigan, Pauline LaBelle. I don't think
Scott wasn't available.
Susan attended, but the three of us
Yeah,
attended, and I think that's also in the
there's an update here.
update here in the minutes as part of 5.3.
Okay,
In the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the agenda. Action items from Pamela Goldsmith-Jones meeting. I don't know if we've had a meeting since this, but we did prepare a briefing note and a meeting request and followed up with respect to that as well. And I think we already had gone through this at a previous
So
meeting.
these actions were presented to the committee on July 5th
Yeah.
by Shauna, so they were applied to those minutes.
oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, what action update list are you reading from, because I can't find anything. Oh, page 7.
7 of 49, and I think these ones
Yeah.
have all been
Done.
completed, except for maybe some of these questions. 5, 6, 7 is ongoing work.
And there are some reports in reference to that, and we also are still following up with Morgan,
Mm.
so 10,
Amazon.
Or
well, actually,
3.
no, we
No,
responded, we
we-
responded to that, we responded to that, it's the key thing that he hasn't got back to us, we're still
main
trying to
point.
connect with his provincial counterparts.
So
Well, I
number
can answer
3.
that because I have connected with the provincial counterpart.
That's great.
Perfect.
And, just let me find it, I keep forgetting to send it, to edit it and send it, so it could be. Oh. Okay, so, the 50% federal contribution limit is on a project that is a provincial asset. So he has confirmed that it is a 40% federal cost share for our project. And he also confirmed that the stacking rule is such that local government project is eligible for up to 40% federal funding. So any kind of federal funding, it's all stacked together. Those are mine.
Okay.
So you are correct, that if BIM applied for a project under Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program and BIAC applied for the same project under Canada's Cultural Spaces Program, the ICIP stacking limit of 40% would apply.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
So, and then Pam kept talking about a continuous intake. There is no continuous intake. The ICIP program administered through the ministry will operate in a similar method to the currently open environmental quality program. Application-based, clearly defined intake period, followed by a review period and decision-making. And timing, not yet public. You got a CAO notice. Did you circulate that to everybody? think you did, I think I asked.
Yeah.
Basically, they're in the midst of getting final decisions from an internal provincial process. Can't be more definitive, and they're also considering the upcoming timing of the local government elections. And if I'm remembering correctly, when I went and looked at the environmental quality program, I think the application period was like June to August or something. And then a review period and decisions would be made in the spring of 2019. So if we're looking at that same sort of 6+ month process, and my gut's telling me that they wouldn't open an application process until after the election. Because if they haven't announced anything at this point, it would be a great thing for the Premier's speech on the Friday afternoon morning at UBCM to
Yeah.
say, you know, we'll be opening an intake process in October or November, and then you do the same.
Didn't
Timing
Morgan say it would
thing,
actually
yeah.
be opened in September?
He didn't say that, he said the agreement had to be in place.
Oh, he-
September
they had to
End of
make,
September.
they had to.
By
submit to
September 30th, they have to submit,
Their plan.
which is in their plan,
Yeah.
so.
The province.
The
She
province.
commits.
Yeah.
Events, right?
Well, to
Right.
each of to the feds as to what they're doing for the program. So I'm not feeling that we'd be able to, you know, if we're lucky, the intake might be October, November through to January or something. But who knows?
Okay, and I think that's part of the
A little bit sooner than that.
5.1 update. We can keep that discussion going.
And so, Allison, who, in terms of your source for that information?
Brian Bedford, he and Everly run the program.
So, can you just, so what was the 40% cost? So what are we looking to be on?
Oh, and it's 40% of eligible costs, so that's the other thing that I said to Raj the other day. If you go through that Schedule A, the big document, whatever it is, there's a lot of stuff that isn't included. Like, so anything we spent to date isn't going to be included.
Right.
Equipment isn't going to be included. The
Municipal component.
cost of building a municipal part isn't going to be included. So we've got to take that total number, figure out what we would have spent by the time we get to January maybe, and then deduct equipment and all that other stuff and figure out, yeah.
Sounds like then we could still apply for the equipment under the Culture Spaces grant.
Well, it's the project.
Right, so does that, then
Well,
that would be a separate part
the
then?
project, and I think we would be better to wait
Sure.
until
Well,
the
after,
thing's
yeah.
done. Because a lot of that equipment is stuff that we might get donations in kind for.
We should have a list.
Yeah. And we, you know, put that list out,
Yeah,
yeah.
but we should probably, it's gonna be somewhere around the 11 million mark.
Well, what have we got? So anyhow, rather than doing, so we need to sit down and figure that out. So, you know, if you use 10 million, 40% of 10 million is 4 million, right?
Yeah.
And another 33 is 3.3, so that gets us to 7.3, and it still puts that fundraising number we were talking about in a reasonable, you know.
So we're looking still to get 40% from the feds, is that right? That was what you were.
It's
Yeah.
40% is what they will,
Of eligible.
of eligible
Eligible.
So we have
costs,
to deduct
And
a
then
few.
33% in the.
From,
and 33% from the province, so 17 and 2/3 from, 16 and 2/3 from us, and is that right, isn't it? Yeah.
so that's higher than what
We
we're
should-
showing
huh?
then.
She didn't look at me to confirm the numbers.
No,
Anyway,
that's a number that we're gonna have to kind of refine.
but it's not 40%
Especially
of
if
14.
No.
Especially if
We
It's
have
it's
to
probably
take- we have
closer to
take off
40% of
the
10.
two- we have
Of
to-
10, so
Yeah.
it brings us still back to this,
Yeah.
roughly what we've got, what we're showing in this
Yeah.
document, it's still.
Well, if we've almost
still
spent.
valid, yeah.
Yeah.
The beehive's still valid.
It's close.
We've
Close.
almost
Close.
spent
But we need to-
$1,000 already.
Actually, I'd like to try and do that before we go to PVC.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be nice if we could get some numbers. Do an action item on that? Just
Numbers.
Okay, Raj and I will do an action item
Sorry, what, can you be more specific?
Problem, yeah.
Well,
And I'm with Sam on that too, right? So,
Yeah.
I can help.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Just try to refine that.
Yeah.
The action item is to break out the non-eligible costs associated with the grant application.
Yes.
Thank you.
Raj,
So
Allison, and Sam.
Easy peasy. All right, do you want to just continue on, Sam?
Me?
Well,
I think,
well, maybe not.
that's
Let's
6,
see what else
7,
we got.
8, 9, 10, that was number 10. And so
Yeah.
carrying on with the agenda would be 5.1, which is fundraising. Moving that along,
All right.
there's an
Phone.
update from you
Oh,
guys.
yeah. Okay, so fundraising, in terms of an update, we're very excited.
Yeah.
Sophie, Jacqueline, and myself, saw a demonstration. We now have an online donation platform, and it is up and running. It's linked to the website, and we have some donations through it, and it works.
5% of our need.
Almost 5%, 0.5%. It's called Kila. We were able to be, as a municipality, we were able to be the charitable donation, but as a qualified donee, so the municipality is the, I don't know what the right word is, owner of Kila. The donations are coming through the Muni. One of the reasons we really liked this software was that it does the online donation as well as the donor tracking, all the fundraising campaign follow-up. It can track pledges, it can sends out tax receipts, it can send out thank you letters,
Awesome.
it can, so it's kind of a one-stop shop for us for all of that.
And most
And this one
importantly, the
mentioned-
data lives in Canada.
The data lives in Canada.
Verify
The
that.
data lives in
And
Canada.
the nice aspect about it, and I guess it's not uncommon with these type of software, but the donor can opt to also pay for the charges that will, the interest or the user charges fees that are being charged. So it's possible that we won't have to pick up those fees, or we'll lose that money.
What are they charging?
It's 2.6%.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And Kila itself is a monthly charge to the municipality, so.
That other piece, there was another software where you just played a flat amount and you got it and used it, but we can look at that one.
And are these being captured as operational costs or capital costs?
We do have a fundraising budget that we are
Okay, so
bringing
it's the part
forward,
of the
and
fundraising
it's
budget.
it's in that budget. It's in the
Yeah,
budget.
But we'll talk about that in the close.
So
That's
if
right.
we encourage people to write checks,
Yep,
then we're not incurring that 2% fee.
that's right.
That's a credit card processing fee,
Yeah.
so that.
Mhm.
Oh,
that
it's
would-
a credit
Yeah,
card
credit card
Yeah.
So
processing.
Kila
Oh,
is
it's
Yeah.
not a
It's not a
Kila
Kila
fee.
fee,
No.
no.
It's a
Kila
credit card.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me feel much better.
Okay, yeah, no,
Thank
Kila
you.
we're paying
Sorry.
a nominal fixed amount for,
Okay, thank you.
which is not very costly for the
Good.
benefits we're
Okay.
getting.
Yeah, they have no other fees.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then,
Sorry,
don't
to
talk
clarify
about
that.
processing fees in Kila, it's credit card
Credit card
processing fees.
processing.
So we want to encourage people to pay cash.
But the benefit of Kila is that in the donation form itself, you can just tick a box saying, I'd like to pay the transaction fees. And it shows you the amount too, so
Yeah.
it says, do
But
you want
why-
to pay
So
it?
it may offset the processing,
I know,
yeah, which is.
but I think, we would be better not having people pay the processing fees and just write us a $100,000 check.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yes.
And so,
Yes.
when it comes into that type of money, I mean, we'll,
Yeah,
our
but
donors
even a
will
$5,000
not
or
ask
a
them to go to
$1,000,
that.
right?
We'll go
I mean,
pick up the check.
Yes, we will.
We'll go-
Do we, quick question for you guys, do we have some kind of communication letting people know that if they were to donate by check,
There's no
that
fee.
processing, yeah, there's
Yeah,
no fees?
exactly.
We can, I'm sure we
In
can
the
add
community.
that.
I don't know if we
Yeah,
can
we
Yeah,
add
that's
that.
probably good.
I
Add
think it might be
that.
important to let people know that, especially for large dollar donations.
Well, I mean, the big ones they won't, because they're probably,
Yeah.
I mean, some people might have
People
that
should
kind
be
of a
aware
limit
of
on
that,
that,
yeah.
on their thing, but, I mean, it's not uncommon for
Okay.
people to do a 5,000 or 10,000 on a
Right.
credit card. So, and that's 2%, so,
Let's hope
yeah,
And sometimes
Uh,
it's about capacity too.
yeah.
not. Is there any facility in there for pledges?
Yes.
Or-
Yes.
Oh, there is,
Oh,
okay, I
Yeah,
didn't see
we can
that.
track the pledges as well.
Oh, okay, good.
And if someone does give us a check, we can manually put it into Keela as a cash,
Yeah.
as a donation.
Yeah,
And then we
They
then
issue
have
the
all of,
receipt,
yeah, it
yeah.
issues the receipt, but we also have all of their
Yeah.
donor
And the record
information and
is
the
there.
record.
Yeah. But for any of the bigger stuff, we want
Yeah.
pledges anyhow,
Yes,
so we don't have to
Absolutely,
worry
yeah.
about.
so
Yeah.
we can track pledges in Keela as well.
Yeah.
So Shauna, were you saying that we've actually received some donations to
Yes.
Keela already?
Yes, from 2 people at this table.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question.
So do we have a pledge form design?
We have a pledge form and a donor form. We'll have those at BoFest.
Can you say the, how do you spell Keela?
Keela.
And it's keela.co if you're looking on the website,
K-E-L-L-A.
Keela.
la.co.
And so I go to keela.ca and I,
C-O.
keela.co.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Keela dot co.
And
that's
I,
fabulous.
how do I search?
Oh, to find. the
Oh, actually,
donation
to find it, you go to our
It's
website.
right
you
on
would
the
go
Yeah,
to
you
Keela.
just go
Yeah,
to
you go to
the
the
project
municipal
website.
Go to the BIM website.
Yeah.
And then the
Or
project.
Is it Our Island Place?
It's our-
Keela will just
our
give you
island.
information on their software. and
No, I
how
don't
you
care
can
about
use it.
that.
No, you wanna
Okay,
find
That's what
the,
you wanna see, yeah, I'd like to do that as well, so you go to our software.
Can you go back to
Or
the
sorry,
story, so I said once in a row?
Was there
Donate?
Oh, there you go.
There's the airplane.
Hey, look
Donate.
at that.
I like how it's in caps.
can we call that donate or pledge?
Donate's good.
slash pledge?
I
That's
mean-
good.
Can I just make a recommendation that you put this link in your meeting minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's already done.
Oh, thank you.
It will also be connected to the community recreation website and it's going out in our newsletter.
And the
I think you-
and the Arts Council
Oh,
website.
I mean, a lot of people are not gonna donate, but they would pledge. Because they're not gonna donate until, turn it into cash until they
Unless
know
it's
that
a
the building's
done deal.
going
Are they
forward.
gonna do that online though, or is that more? the
Yeah, they
pledge-
might.
Is the
They
pledge
might.
more through a conversation?
No,
that they
it
have
depends
with
on the
us?
amount, somebody, yeah. I mean, somebody might pledge $1,000, the bigger stuff is gonna be through a conversation, but I think you need a,
And it's actually a great way to have that connection, so then we follow up with those individuals as well, so.
I'm not sure that we can.
but this is the Keela, so I don't know how, if you would like to, so maybe we need something,
But
does this
also-
take us right into Keela's website?
But if you go,
So that is Keela's website, right?
Okay, so then maybe
Is it?
back at the top
No.
where it says donate now or something, okay, so.
Where?
I
Well-
think it covers that. It says, come together, and it says, you know, if you want to make a pledge, contact us.
No, but if you wanna make a pledge, link them to the pledge form,
Yeah.
make it simple,
We
yeah,
can do it right there, right?
Yeah.
If you'd like to put pledge a donation, click here.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
and take you to the
So-
pledge
so
form.
we can have a pledge form downloadable right there. and it's
Yeah.
still-
Can
Yeah,
we
we
do
could
that?
probably do like an online form too, instead, because they don't even have to download it.
But Keela won't,
Even
that
better.
wouldn't be on
No,
the,
that'll just be through our website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be through Keela.
but I would make it either downloadable or onlineable, because,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
because some people will want to download it, fill it out, and
Yeah.
call us, you know.
Yeah.
Others will want,
And-
won't want to fill it out online just for security purposes.
Sean, did you guys talk about pledge? I thought I heard you say earlier, maybe I misheard you, but did you not say that it tracks pledges as well?
It does, but I think the thought behind that was that it would be, we would be talking to somebody who would say they wanted to pledge,
And then we
they'll
could-
give us
And
a
then we
pledge
have to enter
form,
it in
we would have
to
to
the
enter
system.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
manual process.
And then when somebody says they pledge, they've got to fill out the pledge form, we're gonna have to file
Okay.
those
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then absolutely,
Yeah.
so we have to.
So
make
they'll
sure
be
that-
tracked within
Yeah.
Keela as well as.
as the actual form
Yeah.
would need to be, a ring binder set up to keep them.
So which brings me back, but can they still pledge through Keela?
Yes.
Okay, without our
They can
copy.
thread through our website.
They
Okay.
can't,
Website?
can't
Pledge
through
directly
Keela.
Through
through
Keela.
Oh, okay,
Which
okay.
is
That's
fine,
my
we can
question.
tweak that, that will come to us.
Yeah.
And we'll
But we
ensure it
can
gets in
enter-
our database, so
We can enter pledges manually
Into
into
the
Keela.
Yes.
and the
Oh, okay,
administrative-
perfect.
And that way they're in the database,
Yeah.
follow-ups can be scheduled, the person who's
When
managing
we have
that
enough pledges to say
database
we're ready to
can-
go, we've had the grant awarded, we
Yeah.
can send out a mass letter to everybody saying,
Yes,
send us your check now, please.
that's right.
Yeah.
And we can send out mass emails to all the contacts that are in
The donor
Keela.
management is
Oh,
nice.
nice.
And we
With-
can tag contacts too, so we can tag them as, you know, this is a pledge, this is a donor, this is a, you know, volunteer. One thought that I had about
Just another 10%.
the website is instead of donate at the top as a button, I like the way when we're doing our demo with Kila, they showed us Vancouver Orchestra's website,
Yeah.
and they had support. And then they had several different options underneath that, so you
I've
could
seen
donate,
that.
you could
Pledge.
pledge, or you could volunteer.
That, I
Oh,
like
I was
that.
thinking about that kind of.
How can I support it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also the one where you could pick up the donations in kind type of things.
Yeah.
Would you like to,
So,
provide the
Yeah, so that would be
rolling
much
stairs,
nicer,
Mhm.
lot softer
display board, yeah.
than just the donate.
Mhm.
so yeah, I'll just go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
As soon as I leave this meeting.
So I've discovered through the symphony stuff we get that a friend of mine runs the part of the program at the symphony. So I could go and hit her up for,
Money?
since I appear to no longer be on the finance committee. Because I thought fundraising was under the role of the
Just not
finance committee.
Oh, you mean of this
Yeah,
subcommittee?
Yeah. Anyhow, I'll give Mary a call.
You are in the finance committee team. We did identify you as being part of that also. So
But I haven't been involved in any of the fundraising discussions.
So, I guess the intent to date that, and the discussions that have occurred to date and ongoing, because we reference, this is in the closed meeting, right? So we do reference support of that on an ongoing basis, the different teams.
Mhm.
So is
there-
there,
there's an
is a
intent.
fundraising team?
It's finance.
Okay, and finance isn't responsible for fundraising.
There definitely is a.
There hasn't been any meetings that,
Yeah,
Okay.
there haven't been
Well, I
any-
just want to know whether I'm involved or not.
right,
So
So
you
in
reference
regards to the
documents,
Keela piece,
there's
or-
reference to that,
yeah.
but it's in closed meetings.
You happy with the 5.1 or are we still moving on?
Definitely updates.
Grant stacking?
Well, that was
That was
part of
Allison.
what we've already talked about.
I mean, I don't know if it's the place for it, but I thought just outlining, I don't know, it's more related to the grant, but we went through the checklist that's available through the infrastructure application program for the water infrastructure.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's a, we
That's the
read,
environmental one he's referring to, right?
and
Yeah.
maybe if you just open up that Excel file and we'll
Yeah,
just
so
scroll
that's
through it
One
pretty
of the
quick.
things I just didn't.
The one you sent me?
And so
Yeah.
and Sean and I have gone through that.
And I've been going through it as well, so we'll get back together and keep collaborating, but what we did was we took the water infrastructure grant application
The one he's
questions.
referring to is the environmental one.
Yep.
That was the water stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
so all the questions that are in that grant application, we've been trying to change the language around to speak to facilities and cultural facilities in rural communities. And although there's several hundred questions, the questions related to environment and water are gonna be very similar when it comes to this building. So we're preparing a RACI matrix, a responsibility assignment matrix, and putting down our target answers already, so we're prepared when that grant application comes out.
Awesome, good.
And then the little smiley faces and sad faces are where we're missing some information, or we think we might be at risk, so we need to develop information. The smiley faces mean we already have information, and the straight line is moderate risk, so. Yeah, that's available
Yeah, can we get
for
can
review
that get sent around just so we can?
for the steering
Yeah.
committee.
What he
And-
commented in is, the letter to the CEOs said, and maybe, I don't know if it fits the checklist, the community cultural recreation stream will support projects that increase access to recreation and
Yeah.
cultural facilities, and that improve civic engagement.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the elderly will probably be a specific
So
question,
there's-
Yeah.
and there'll be
Yeah.
families as a specific question.
Yeah.
We'll be having to demonstrate and document
Yeah.
how this project adds value to the community in
Yeah.
multiple facets. So this document will help us start creating those narratives now, and then when the grant application is ready, we can just copy paste it into the application. Otherwise, the application window is gonna be a shotgun going off, and we might be
Yeah.
unprepared, so we're just trying to get ahead of that.
This
Well,
is
that's
awesome.
awesome.
That was
Great.
what Morgan
Super.
had
Yeah,
stressed.
two awesomes there.
Two awesomes, yeah.
Happy faces. Can I send this email?
Morgan had stressed that
Yeah.
it was outcome
I mean,
based.
it's totally draft, and
Yeah.
I haven't, maybe us three should connect before we send it to the steering committee, because this is my version, and then I'm gonna collect your information, be the holder of the pin, and then
I think that's probably a
we'll
good
have
idea.
one.
We did go through it.
You're so
We did go through
efficient.
it, section by section as well.
They've got a detailed
Steph,
cost
Steph was so
estimate
efficient,
template
she
in
just
here.
sent it. so-
Okay. Well, just know then that the document received is just an
A preliminary
uncoordinated
draft.
draft version, that it's just my initial thoughts and process is totally incomplete.
Well, and I was gonna go and check it out anyhow, so I haven't got the time. There is
So
a,
we've already changed language in these questions.
Yeah.
I'm manipulating the language
Yeah.
to how I would write the question if it was related to a community center and not a water treatment facility. But it's the same sort of provide evidence of your organization. Do you have a borrowing bylaw that's been approved as part of this application? You can scroll down and you can just go through this. I mean, this is already on line 189, but there's lots and lots of very similar questions
Yeah,
that the province will likely be looking for.
but not, we didn't turn.
And whether they're not
We did turn into.
specifically in the grant application is probably good information for Bowen to be gathering
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 related to
And we
operations.
have,
and
with the
community.
case for support, we've already put a bit in there, so.
Can you imagine being the person who has to go through that?
Well, maybe
Like,
that's why it
review it,
takes so
like,
long to go through the
Well,
process.
they're reviewing so many.
Process.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually isn't, I don't think it'd be that challenging. I mean, if you think about reviewing an RFP document, it'll be kind of
Mhm.
similar. You just have to create a format of
Yeah.
how you analyze it and whether it
Mhm.
meets the criteria or doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why they're laying it all out too, so
Yeah.
they've got everything. So there is a cost template too in that package.
I can't recall.
Yes, it's in the link that he sent me, so.
If you want to send the link,
Yeah,
then we'll,
if
I don't know if
you
we,
share
Yeah.
I don't
we went to
Well,
the
I-
website
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
downloaded the application from the provincial government
Yeah, I'm on the
website.
provincial government website. It says, before submitting an application, refer to the guide, application instructions and tips, application questions, sample
Yes.
only, detailed cost estimate
Oh, right.
template.
Yeah, we saw that and we already
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
that broken down. We're already aligned with that.
so
process
as
with
long
our
as we're
budget
aligned
document.
with that, that's good, yeah.
And see, some of the documents are optional to include, could include, and one of them was the business plan. And so
Yeah.
we've also received a business plan, I think, Sam, that you had sent along from the provincial government. And we also opened that up and went through that as well, line by line, to look, to see what was needed for the business plan, so.
And if
we're
we
doing some
keep-
work on that.
Developing our information the way we have been, we should be well in hand.
Help you
So-
ready to go. I think that's key. All right,
And that was the feedback we got from Morgan too, was you
Okay.
guys are good,
yeah,
keep going.
Mhm.
super. That sounds nice to hear.
Okay.
So is that next steps, or is that part of the grant stacking?
That was what
That
I
was
wanted to add
just
as
an
next
add.
step.
You wanted to add, that was,
But just so there was a little
Yeah,
update on
no,
that
that's good.
process.
And then in terms of other next steps, BowFest is obviously this Saturday, and we will have a booth there similar to Canada Day. We have lots of volunteers, which is
well,
great.
that's page 40, that's number, you're at 5.7 now.
Am I?
Slow down.
Oh, sorry, okay.
That's part of the next steps.
Do you want to move that up so Sophie's involved in that? Is she going to be there, or is that?
No, so,
Okay.
it's okay, we can leave it.
Good. She's being way too involved in way too many things.
Sorry, I have,
You have. you got
Don't
a
be
nice
sorry. Don't be sorry.
yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, and I think there's other next steps we can talk about when we go through this work.
Yeah, which is in the closed, so we can,
Okay, Sam, back to you then.
Back to me,
Traffic assessment.
traffic
actually,
assessment.
we had moved communications.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry,
Sophie,
yeah.
okay. So there's no pages.
5.2, put that up, yeah.
There's no pages for the communications plan.
I was hoping to have that ready for this meeting, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. So right now, what I have been working on is developing themes for our communications. So I was thinking about setting up a schedule. So for the plan from August to March 2019, basically, it's basically taking content from all of our existing, well, the Case for Support, which is almost existing, our boards, our postcards, and then also digging into the public comments to get some themes developed. And themes that I've come up with are why we need a community center, benefits of the community center. We can do this. We need your support. That's all I have right now. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm continuing to work on. Like literally as soon as I leave, I'll be continuing this. And then finishing the communications plan. Yeah, just based around those themes. And because we already have basically all of this written, it'll also be updated on the website as well.
And you sent out the postcard, so that came
Yes.
in the mail last week?
Yeah.
So the mail
Got
dropped
that?
in.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
Sophie also organized an interview with Shauna and myself with Bronwyn.
Yeah,
And the
perfect.
words of that article will probably come out next week, she said.
Okay, that's great.
She was gonna still check in with us in terms of some figures. We
Okay.
were-
Yeah,
we sent
I'll
to
have
her.
a media release. It's pretty much ready to go now. It's just, it's gonna be post BoFest media release. So,
Mhm.
hey, we were at BoFest, this is kind of what we saw. And this is what, we're starting the fundraising now, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that will be concurrent with whatever Bronwyn writes from the interview. And that'll just kind of launch it off.
So that line that says why we need a community center sounds sort of negative to me. I don't know, or a more positive statement, we need a community center because, and I don't.
Just we need a community center and then all the reasons.
Yeah, just more,
Yeah, that's not really like a statement. It's just what I'm calling the theme.
okay, okay.
So there are a bunch of
Yeah.
different statements that would be within that theme that we've already kind of.
So no, that wouldn't be the heading of a.
No.
Of a
No.
thing, okay.
No, we'd have much more interesting headings.
But it's like a Simon Sinek start with why, right?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
You know, I'm very,
Real
like,
positive spin.
whenever I'm trying to plot out communications, it's who, what, where, when, why,
Yeah.
That's kind of how I
That's the, yeah.
conceptualize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Thanks, thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
And been working on setting up the Kiva platform
Yeah.
last week, so that was kind of a priority to get that done before protest. So that's done, I'm gonna go finish that now.
Great.
All right.
Yay,
Thanks,
thank you,
Sophie.
Sophie.
And I don't know if you want me back for the Case for Support conversation, but.
We'll come and get you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So moving on to traffic,
Yes.
study was done, completed in the middle of August. Susanna prepared a report, and it's attached here. I don't know if everyone read the entire report, it's a lot of, I already admitted that, I skim read these, when it comes to the technical data analysis part, because I'm not a traffic analysis engineer, but I do understand, the recommendations and see the value of some of the site access conclusions that we came to. The steering committee would look at page 22 of 49 of the report. I think they will see a good graphic display of the recommendations for this project from a concept stage for what could be done to improve traffic management at this new intersection along Bowen Island Trunk Road. And the work was reviewed by Bowen Island staff as well. This wasn't just done as a consultant on their own, working in
So
isolation.
this was with them involved then?
Emma and Bob both have reviewed and commented on this. I
Fantastic.
think there are some new updates that Bob provided the civil engineer, but didn't get onto this traffic report, but that's more related to the north end of the site than the actual interface with Bowen Island Trunk Road. So recommendations are a stop sign, which make a lot of sense. I think
Standard.
that was probably gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a lay-by on the, heading west, access into the site and turning, west out of the parking lot. And, paint markings and note it for the crossing of the bike path through, the intersection as well.
There's a power pole somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's got to be moved too.
Where
There is
the-
a power
The
pole.
W equals 3.25 somewhere in there.
Regardless of this traffic, recommendations, it would have needed to be relocated for the driveway access. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that doesn't change scope.
Except it adds to the cost.
It does add to the cost. I think that one traffic, that one power pole is already noted in our budget for relocation, so it's
good.
in the current budget. These other changes, road widening and
Crosswalk.
whatnot, they're not, because this is new scope, so we'll,
The
Right.
road widening's only on the
north side.
north side, yeah.
My question to the steering committee is, it's safe to assume that we're including all of this, I think I've asked the question before, but we're including all of this scope in the total project budget? It isn't part of upgrades or other municipal works that's happening, this is all part of the capital.
I
Well,
would certainly think so.
well, let's talk to the Community Lands Committee. How are we accessing the area behind the school?
That is something
cares?
that hasn't been discussed.
I don't think this
I thought
traffic study,
The
I mean,
Community
we-
Lands
we've
Committee
assumed
hasn't
it's
met
just a
in
driveway.
8-9
we've
months.
assumed it's
Driveway.
just a
Yeah.
driveway.
I think it's pretty defunct, that committee.
Oh.
So the,
Community lines?
Yeah.
Oh, I lost a job.
We both
Good.
did.
One more.
Um,
Yeah, I thought actually just,
Changing-
I thought we
changing-
got off pretty easy there. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah,
I don't know if that shoulder just going in at an angle, but I'm not a traffic guy, but I would have been nice to get it over a little bit further.
and this is just the concept, it's not the actual dimensions and layout of what the design would be, so the next step recommendations
would
for
be the
this would be
actual
to
measurements and.
bring this consultant on board to actually do the design as part of the working drawing, so it could be tendered alongside the Creus package, and they would have to coordinate with Creus to enhance the design. Or, we can see if Creus can give us a fee proposal, so at least we're getting more than one cost proposal for
Yeah,
a scope increase to their design to include these, new designs in their scope of work.
So is
That
that
would
what,
be the recommendation, would be to get some pricing and include it in the design so that when we get
yeah.
the next PQS
Yeah.
report, these costs are included for this work.
has that crosswalk been moved from where it is now, or is that?
Yeah, no, that's good.
There will be repainting required because of the
No,
damage
but-
to the,
This isn't,
Is it being,
is this where it is now, or is it further up?
without exact dimensions, I'm going to say it's gonna be net new just because of all the work that's gonna be happening there. You plan on budgeting for replacing the, and relocating it, so it's in an appropriate spot.
Fanciest crosswalk on Bowen Island.
we got that
Nice.
crosswalk,
That one,
I've got a
yeah.
question with respect to, I haven't read the whole report, but that small little line with the diamond in it, I believe that's the walking trail along
Bike trail, yeah.
No,
the
that's-
highway, right?
No,
So
that's
it's,
a bike lane.
that's the bike
That's the
lane,
bike
but it's
lane.
also, isn't that
Walking.
also where people walk when they're
No,
not
they-
walking on the highway
No,
currently?
they walk on the, other side of the ditch.
I think that's,
Gravel
Oh, okay.
so
there's a
you
gravel
see,
path.
if you see
Yeah.
in this,
But on the
in
left hand,
I think
Okay, it's not showing in here.
it is,
I did a lot of work.
I think there's a 3.25 for,
Oh, okay,
for this walking
for this
trail
walking
pathway.
trail, okay.
Don't know.
So have they commented on that in terms of
So you can see it.
people continuing to
Nothing.
walk across as traffic is gonna come in and out, or
I
see?
think,
We might need
although
a,
not graphically represented, there would be a crosswalk in
Is-
front
There
of
would
it.
be a
that like the
crosswalk or
crosswalk?
something, okay.
wouldn't that be your crosswalk thing?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
poorly
That's-
represented.
Yeah.
And there should be,
And you need to show the trail hooking into it.
the trail hooking into it could also have,
Okay.
Yeah.
like.
I like
the-
that, yeah, I like that it's
Walk
back
or
there. I was a
something.
little bit concerned that it was over where the bike path
No,
is here. and
No,
But
no.
I
Cars
think
are
we get
gonna
a
come
little
down.
bit complicated it's on this side here.
Okay,
This is just a concept layout, and when we do the actual design,
Yeah.
we can show all these linkages.
okay.
Yeah.
But what we don't really have those linkage on this side here, because,
You see the cliff on that side, yeah.
on the downward slope here, there is a separate path plus the bike path.
Yes.
On this side, the only real access now that's being created is by the bike path, so
So there'll be a merger of those elements.
I think it just needs some sort of discussion on how we want pedestrian flow on that corner, whether.
Yeah, because I think probably the assumption with the crosswalk was in the path, that once you get to the school, that's what, the only reason people are going up there is to get to the school, so they would then cut across the school field
So
We
would
don't
it
want them
be,
coming across the street.
would we engage
or walk
this
around
additional
behind it.
scope to be designed
Yeah.
from the experts who design these things?
Okay.
Who should
Yeah.
they reach out to, Bob and
This-
Emma?
And the school
Kathy?
district when it comes to
One
that.
of the things I wanted to bring up was the idea, and I just looked at our terms of reference, of having our manager of planning and development be part of the committee moving forward. He
Yeah.
won't be a voting member, but I think it's important at this stage to start involving Daniel in our steering committee meetings. So I think just
Yeah.
for process-wise, if we could get a recommendation maybe from the committee requesting that the CAO invite the manager of planning and development to all future steering committee meetings, and then
Yeah.
things like this can be discussed, which he can disseminate to Emma if need be, and,
Okay.
Trying to figure it all out here.
That this
So
Community Center Steering Committee recommend that the CAO invite the manager of planning and development.
maybe
to-
just request. Then we just have a formal record of why he's become part of the committee, because he's not part of the terms of reference.
Request the manager of planning and development attend
To
future meetings.
To attend all future
All
steering committee
okay.
meetings.
Aren't you gonna give them a
I'll move
choice to
that.
look at the agenda and decide whether to-
Yeah, exactly.
What about public works?
You know what, we need more than, Bob's expertise is great, but he's not an engineer.
And I don't
And
think.
we have a consulting engineer. So I can see parachuting Bob in as we need him, but
Yeah.
as a regular
Yeah.
member, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't think he has to be here every meeting for sure. Or something.
I moved that motion.
Yeah, I moved it, and then Kathy seconded it. All in favor? Thank you. Passed.
The comment you brought up, I think, is quite valid and kind of missing from the report, but good to note or minute, so it's on record for when we do the design, which is mitigation strategies to ferry traffic with signage or other means as part of the project, so that we don't get stoppage of traffic on the hill with the design that's coming forward. So it's something that still needs more design thought on as well. Any other thoughts on that? That was a good comment.
Yeah, it's just because I don't think we have an overall sort of, with the community, I think we all have different ideas on what we do with ferry traffic when it's offloading. Some people, I always give precedent to offloading traffic. Some people
Yeah.
feel that every second counts in their life, so they will stop ferry
I
traffic.
I
So
agree with you.
I think that, when I read this report, I mean, what I gleaned from it is that it's not really going to affect regular traffic that much, really, in the overall, it's, but, we do have that, 5 minutes every hour where life changes, so just how we deal with that.
Rush minute.
As well as that left-hand turn coming in. So, do we want to start sending out, I think it just needs a bit more of a conversation on.
But that left-hand turn coming in, by the time the ferry traffic's gotten up the hill, it started to disperse because of the corner. It's going to be, and it won't be blocking the ferry loading because it's the third lane over. So-
But it's when people try to make a turn into the traffic.
But you're saying there's gonna be more traffic that they're gonna have to turn into, but you always have to yield to traffic when you're making a left turn.
I know, but it's people's perceptions of whether,
I mean, I wouldn't stop when I was coming up the hill if somebody was wanting to turn left.
I know, but people do make those left-hand turns. Anyways, it's just, it's an ongoing going.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it'll work in today's world. Maybe in the world 2 years from now, it might not work, who knows? But I mean, you think about the intersection down below there, and it's, that
Well, that's
works
worse.
in a weird kind of way. Well, as well as can work.
Yes.
Anyway, I think, I think we should.
I
just
guess
move
the
on,
issue's
because
gonna be more like at that
conversation
intersection
is
down there when
Mhm.
everybody's
It was something just to note as we move forward, but it wasn't to have
No,
a
no,
depth
actually,
conversation. It was
excellent.
just something that wasn't picked up in the
Yeah.
study, was that.
Needs a solution
And that's
for
why I
the
think it's
design.
good to have it in the minutes, yeah.
Okay, and that's all I have for the
For the traffic.
traffic update.
And that's
That's
till the next hour.
Do we know roughly how much on the cost?
Oh, no. And we lost for that. That's why we need a design with dimensions, gravel base, road base, detailed scope, so someone can price it. Next item, First Nations engagement update.
Yeah.
So, Sam, myself, and Jacqueline
Yeah.
met Chris Corrigan and Pauline LaBelle, and had a positive response from them. They were happy to come and chat with us about some First Nations engagement moving forward. The key things, I think there is a report in your agenda there around some, what we learned and the key notes that came out of it. And part of it was just with the municipality as a whole.
Yeah, bigger engagement.
Having
More
bigger
holistic approach, yeah.
engagement, more holistic approach, exactly. But just having that relationship with the Squamish Nation. And we got some good input from Chris and Pauline about just sort of how to start making those inroads with the Squamish Nation, and some good contacts from them as well, just to be able to start some dialogue. So
Yeah.
that was good information. We got a contact with Monica Jacobs, and the suggestion was that Kathy would connect with Monica.
And I'm gonna be doing that tomorrow, that's on
Okay.
my to-do list for tomorrow, and I'll copy both of you. so.
Great, and Monica is the acting CAO of the Squamish Nation at the moment.
What was the best way to contact her, telephone or what?
They give email, I think.
Email,
Yeah.
telephone, I think it was
Email and
just,
follow up with the.
Like anybody else?
So
Big
an
company.
email followed up with the personal phone call.
Well, that would be up to her and I to decide that, I think.
Oh, well, I'm just thinking of what we've been told at the Islands Trust with the First Nations
Yeah.
engagement. The personal touch, which means pick up the phone and call me, seems to be what
The
they
winner.
seem to like, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really specify either way,
Yeah.
from Chris and Pauline's point of view.
So was your feeling that we should approach it from a sort of council, administration, municipal level first?
staff.
And then,
Yeah.
It was
Staff.
not, it was less,
and the community center would
it
just
was
be.
more the business operations to business operations of the Squamish First Nation
Yeah.
and Bowen Island municipality.
Yeah.
That was the sense I got out of it. And
Just
that,
a general introduction.
Introduction, but to
Yeah.
talk about
Reaching
the
out.
project, I mean, I would suggest that we maybe arrange a walk about the property and
Yeah.
just talk about what our vision is and invite some dialogue or engagement
Yeah.
around what.
my thoughts on the agenda would be that the community center project isn't the only thing on the
No,
agenda.
exactly.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
We
part of
wanna
the
get
bigger.
them we want to get them involved.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
before,
So we're not doing
and,
this because.
and before we ask for details on what sort of facility programming you could use our community center, the community center for, it would be, you know, a little bit higher level discussion before you dig into those details.
They suggested having a staff liaison to the Squamish
Yeah.
Nation, yeah, for ongoing, like an ongoing
Yeah, no, that'd be
relationship
great.
there.
It'd be nice just to establish communication.
Mhm. So we did get some good contacts. One of the things I think that stood out for me was the comment to don't invite people into something they
I
cannot change.
really like that. Yeah.
So, some of the things that we talked about that were project specific, kind of after connection and after relationship is started, there to be built, but that we're not going to them with this project as you know, the design and everything is not something that we can change, so what can there be input into? And some of the things that came out of that were public art, so talking about
Yeah,
a
I'd love to
welcome
see some of
pole,
that,
in that front entry, or some kind of figure at the entrance. Art exhibits featuring youth carvers and artists from the Squamish Nation. talked a lot about the storytelling and the opportunities about how sound in the region. So maybe there's certain view corridors within our facility that there could be a plaque there that would tell the story of what the Squamish Nation story is of
Yes.
that view.
Absolutely. We
Story.
could have a designated area, you know, with history and
Yeah,
artwork. and
something
all
like
that
that, landscaping ideas, and then talked about making the facility inclusive and accessible, so wayfinding and signage, and perhaps that's something where they might want to have input into.
stuff. Cool. That'd be great.
So landscaping just triggered something in my mind. After having attended the Fire Smart workshop on the 14th, we should make sure that the landscaping is an example of Fire Smart landscaping.
Indubitably.
The landscaping plans are fire smart and
Doesn't get wet.
heavily indigenous local species,
Yeah.
drought tolerant species. Yeah.
No cedar hedging.
Certainly a consideration, yeah, no question about that. I think, yeah, all aspects of the building obviously should be fire smart.
Yeah, I mean, we just can't tell people, you know, Fire Smart your houses and then we go and do
Not do
something
it.
totally stupid on the public stuff.
Everybody happy with that? I think that's really progressive. I hope the conversation goes well, Kat.
I think so too.
Yeah, I'm
If
sure.
you want it, is there some kind of recommendation about that?
I think it's in the,
Yeah, so
the
we set-
actions.
Yeah, setting up that discussion, updating here, and recommending. The council workshop, were you able to, was that something that is happening with Chris Corrigan potentially in
Yes,
November? Is that-
what we're doing is Chris is doing our council orientation for us, and it will be, I think it's November, Sophie's gone, November
I think
15th.
it's the
Yeah,
15th.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an all-day orientation session with Chris.
That's great.
So there was some discussion that perhaps the steering committee might recommend, just underlining the importance of building a relationship between the two communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris is supposed to get back to us with some ideas over the next month or so. And so Raj and Sophie and I had met with him a couple weeks ago about it.
I'd like to see that as a council resolution, not a committee resolution, but it wouldn't hurt as a committee resolution. I don't know.
A resolution.
Well, just
that
that we,
Encourage
Number
council,
three
that we
on
would
the
encourage
actions.
council to build, engage with First Nation, local First Nations, and to build a relationship, an ongoing relationship that would have impact on the community.
is that
as a
really
whole.
part of our community center mandate? Our mandate is to get a community center built.
I think if you want to keep the momentum of what is required from the grant application process, it is part of the
Yes,
community
it is
center,
part of the
so,
grant, right.
you know, if this committee makes the
I just
recommendation to
don't, I just
council,
don't
then
want to
it's,
make it look like we're being forced to do this.
Mhm.
I'd rather see,
Yeah, that's my
I'd rather
concern,
see it come as a
yeah.
council,
Yeah,
item.
yeah. I mean, I
and then
think,
flow down to us.
I think it will be, especially setting the stage with Chris being involved with our council orientation, and I think that will be
Yeah.
very much part of what that mandate of that day is. And I agree with Gary, if we have a formal resolution from the community center committee, it looks like we're only after one thing.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's my thinking.
Okay. And we want to build a general relationship.
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
To this project.
So if you wanted a resolution, it would be something about the committee supports council building in general.
Yeah, yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
we can do
idea.
that.
With
Squamish
Yeah.
First Nation.
Resolve to support or something?
No, the council, the community center selects or whatever we're called, supports, council and staff developing relations with Squamish First
Mhm.
Nation.
Relations?
Relationship.
Better.
Yeah, relationships, working relationship with.
I'll move that.
Somebody want to move that?
Uh,
Okay, Jackie, second. Second. All in favor? No?
I don't know, it seems a bit,
It's,
Self-serving?
not self-serving, but it kind of, I think that's up to the new council to take that. One would hope one is doing that already.
Yeah.
Like
I'm a little uncomfortable and I can't even pinpoint.
I think we're
Can-
seeing
can
a
it
good
be reworded?
example by the approach we're taking, so
Can it be
I'm gonna-
reworded, and the only reason I wanted to reword it is to get it to council's attention. So can we reword it somehow that,
I think that's a conversation really
What
to
if
have
it's
at the
just-
beginning of a new council, like,
Yeah,
What if-
they're either gonna pick it up as something that is part of their, like, so I can't, I don't,
okay?
What about
I'm not trying to be a troublemaker,
No,
just,
no,
it's
no,
just
I
not
do see,
sitting.
yeah.
what about a recommendation to, for the new council to receive this report as information? Just so it's there and then it's something to look at, because it might get lost in paperwork.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, and then we're not pre-presuming.
Call it a friendly amendment.
It's like a
Yeah.
friendly sticky note on someone's computer that's
Yeah.
back from vacation in a couple
Yeah.
months.
Yes, I think that's
No,
nice,
I was
because I
just
think
trying
this is
to-
a nice approach, and I don't think we've ever had a project that's taken this sort of proactive approach with advice.
That's why when I voted in favor, I went like this.
Well, I thought you guys wanted to have something in writing that you were supporting having good relations with the First Nations, so that was why I made the motion the way I said.
I would like to
How
bring
about
this
a
to-
report from, like, BIAC, for example, because that would be part of our cultural program for the municipality. I mean, BIAC is our partner that is developing cultural, basically cultural programming and
Relationships,
cultural relationships. So if it was a general, because like you said, you don't want it to sound, you don't want it to be sounding or being self-serving, but you're genuinely wanting to establish and grow a relationship.
Yeah.
And so perhaps a recommendation to council from, I mean, it's kind of way left field of this meeting, but,
We actually did that a number of months ago when Pauline and
Mhm.
Tina and myself came
They
to
made a
council.
presentation.
We did make a presentation, it
Yeah.
was around, we referenced Truth and Reconciliation Commission's
Oh, okay.
report, but invited this, stating that we all, in terms of our mandates or personal reasons in the case of Pauline, why we were developing programming and why we felt it was really important, and invited the municipality at that time to be part of that process. So,
Yeah, so I do think that I
Already on
forgot
record.
that resolution.
And we
that covers
also
it.
had the Allen's Trust First
that
Nations,
presentation.
Yeah.
local government, intergovernmental
So I
affairs
think-
person present, and
And in fact,
the lady from the Squamish Nation.
municipality
Yeah,
has
okay,
been part
so-
of that now, because our first National Indigenous Day celebration
okay.
was, the municipality was involved in that. That was a co-sponsor.
So I think we go back to what Sam's suggestion was about just making this report a yellow sticky for the next council. And
Yeah.
I think what Raj and I can do when we're working with Chris and the new mayor for orientation is make sure to flag that a portion of that will be First Nation engagement of council orientation. And how they proceed with, that council proceeds with that, but just having some general information and what some options are as part of orientation.
I'm just wondering, as part of the orientation for the new council, will they be providing sort of background reports on some of these major projects? Because then that would be,
Yeah.
good to
Yeah, absolutely. So,
include in
Then-
the.
and that's a good point, Melanie. That's something that this committee should start thinking about, is maybe just taking the briefing
I was
paper
gonna say the briefing paper
for
UBCM.
UBCM, augmenting it, and having it ready for the November 15th orientation. Even before, the more information that we can have for our candidates, so all candidates are on an even playing field, the better. So having that briefing paper, and maybe this is an action item for Hope as chief election officers, to make sure to have a copy of the briefing paper. And since we have two fire hall facilities members here, it's
Yeah, we
something we
better.
need to do for the
Fire hall also.
fire hall.
And the
Could
emergency
we
management.
include this report then as part of that briefing note?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, that's what I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if we can,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
as a sticky note thing.
So why don't we
One
change
way.
the motion to just say that,
We'll maybe not
the council
attach
be
it, but
made
we'll
aware of,
include content from it.
Yeah.
the notes.
Yeah, I'd like to edit this report before it gets
Yeah.
any further.
Okay, well,
Or
think
it's,
about who your audience is gonna be.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So we've just been through an exercise of where we don't do motions on the fly at a meeting. So what are we doing with this
Point
motion?
taken.
that's
It's
not
just an
really been
action
seconded?
item now, isn't it?
I removed.
I
Removed my
withdraw my
seconding.
motion.
Oh, withdraw.
Okay, so it died on the table.
Yes.
All right, and we're not gonna put anything else in there.
So I think just an action item, the briefing report be augmented, including this memo, and be sent to the chief election officer for dissemination to candidates.
And
Then
electronic means not, we're not giving them hard copies.
I'll leave that up to the chief election officer, but I doubt, since she's 26 years old, she'll want to give out hard copies.
So sorry, just to be clear in terms of what is going to the chief election officer.
I think this committee needs to work on
determine
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we need
Be
to.
part of our
that's
report,
an action.
like a transition report and,
Yeah.
and orientation, which can include content from this, but I don't think it's just a dump,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what we're talking
So
about.
nomination period closes September 14th, so it'd be nice to have something.
Well, that time's nice, with GBCM.
Yep, exactly. So to have something following that date, by then we'll know they have a week to withdraw if they wish to. But if we can have that information out to them in mid-September, that'd be great.
All right, move on to sustainability update.
Okay. Again, this is another detailed report from something that we've been having the design team work on for several months. The deliverable is complete based upon the design development work that's occurred back at Gate 3, but also includes in the early sections some language around sustainability and energy modeling, thermal bridging, air tightness, mechanical systems, electrical systems, that will help inform some frequently asked questions that the community was asking about sustainability of this building. This report also includes a detailed energy analysis, an energy modeling study of our building compared against some hypothetical models. One of the objectives of this report was to confirm the step code relevance of our facility, because that was one of the questions that this steering committee had. And I think that's some of the key findings to point out there, page 43 or 49 on the report document. There's an executive summary, and it has some two factors how come this building does not fully comply with the energy criteria of the step code, and that's but they're predicated on the fact that this type of occupancy, community center, is
Isn't
not
going to.
in the step code.
Yeah.
The step code includes occupancies of residential and business mercantile spaces. So what we have in performing arts space and recreation spaces and community hub spaces are building to wall ratios that don't comply or conform to the step code energy modeling criteria or baselines. So we fail because our walls and ceilings are higher than they are relative to the walls of a residential facility.
So you really can't categorize them.
You really can't, but we do have some good energy conservation measures defined, and we are pointing out with the analysis that's been done that energy conservation and sustainability measures are being applied to your facility as a public realm facility, and in lots of aspects related to the targets of the step code, you're doing significantly better. It's just on those criteria that aren't relatable to this type of facility that we don't fail, or we can't say we're complying to step code because
I think
we're not being analyzed in that way.
one of the key figures is a 50.3% saving,
Yeah.
cost reduction.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's key to the public, there's no question about that. Because they don't understand the complexities of, all these cost saving measures, but some of them economically aren't gonna work out and stuff like that. But saving $16,000 a year is a number they're gonna wanna hear.
That's a great, it's a very energy efficient, well-designed building. It's
Yeah.
just not related to the step code. So if we can,
No.
if we can present the material as contained in this report as a sustainability update to draw our frequently asked question responses on. That's what the recommendation would be saying.
Now, just as a comparison to that other number, that $32,000 number, whatever it is, what standard would that be? Or is that just a normal
That would be
building standard, a minimum building standard?
I'm not an energy modeler,
Yeah,
but I do know that the.
obviously
as-
it's legal to build it that way.
Oh, yeah, it's the energy analysis is done upon baseline hypothetical building examples, so they will take a hypothetical
Yeah.
public sector building of public occupancy and say, okay, this is what the typical, if you just built from the building code, this is what it would be. And what we're saying in our design and in our building is that we're actually 50% better than the standard improved.
So we could just use the expression baseline.
Yeah, baseline
Which
is
was
the-
just
and
it's
that's
an
the
average
correct
out
term.
there.
Yeah, the baseline that's in the industry.
Yeah, okay, perfect. I just, for conversation, I thought it'd be handy to have that.
So that's the summary of the sustainability report. Is there any questions on it that I could take back to the design team?
Did
Get more
solar
detail?
get addressed in here?
If we were talking about,
Solar is currently not included in the
Yeah,
scope of
but
the work.
it's going to be,
But
would
it
be
is
a-
mentioned being not cost effective, I thought somewhere.
In-
under electrical,
In the electric.
it's not been specified that per design electric system will incorporate provisions. for the-
provisions,
for the-
so it can't come on until either the ribbon is placed apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New electric vehicle charging station will be provided.
Yes. Oh, I took some pictures of a couple of different signs. Because Gibson's had one and they allow 2 hours of free use, and I saw one the other day somewhere else and they only allow 4 hours of use, because I know that was a big issue that when we talked about it at council.
I think Vancouver, they're pay for use, just like
I think they should be
I
paid
think
for
it
use.
is.
at Hillcrest Community Center, it's a pay for use.
I don't think there's any
Well, we were
question.
told we can't charge.
But you can charge for parking in the.
Charge for the parking spot, but not for the power.
I
That's
just,
the BC Hydro thing, you can't resell power.
I just have one question. Is there any idea of when the step code might catch up to these types of buildings? And whether or not that might happen
I asked that
during the
question too,
duration of the,
and it may,
that may?
that's the best answer I got. And it is slightly addressed in here where it says the step code is being currently worked on to update for this type of building occupancy.
And if that
But-
was to happen, whether or not,
We'd be grandfathered.
not grandfathered, but there'd be an opportunity to be able to make any minor adjustments to be able to
I
say
think,
that
I think the design is past that.
it's past that, okay, but do you feel that we would be close?
Do I feel
That
like
we-
emotionally?
No, okay, well,
Believe, think.
believe, that we would be very close to being able to.
Step 3?
Yeah,
I have no idea what the criteria is gonna be for the baseline public sector building.
We're good, yeah. We'll be somewhere between
But-
2 and 3.
Do I have like, am I positive in general sense? Feel positive about the sustainability of this project compared to other projects? I'd say yes. Say that your
Yeah.
Bowen Island's
So
design
who's-
team is doing
yeah,
the
but
right
that's
thing.
not my, I was just wondering how close we might be.
Who's developing this step 3 public sector buildings? Do they got-
Province.
Well, is the province doing it, or have they got a committee of
Well, they'll have a big committee.
outside
of
experts,
workers.
I mean,
in
there's
which case
the
can we
National Energy
I guess,
Board is
can we
working on it.
tap into one of them and see where they're at?
Our building inspector, is he on the committee for this?
I'm
For
not sure.
step
I
code?
think he might
For
On, you
step
mean
code?
provincially?
be, or he's on,
He's on CAGBC's board, which is, I think, right?
What's that?
Canadian Green Building Council.
Oh,
Is he a
okay.
member of the Canadian Green Building Council? Which would have some influence on this step. There's probably a lot of organizations with influence.
He's right there.
yeah, I think he
Well, see if he knows
was being
anything.
proactive on, I could be wrong.
Who's that, James? Clay?
No, our building.
Oh, great.
It's not there, but I'll find out.
One of our next steps, kind of the next agenda
Because
item.
he'd been expressing interest on how close we might be to this, so I,
Yeah?
The next item is a design update. This is tied to the design update, and one of our next steps is to have a special meeting with Shauna, Jack, and Greg to go through more detailed design.
That was
'Cause
gonna be my, where do we
he's-
start involving the building inspector in this process?
within the next 2-3 weeks is the answer. It's already happening, it's just all scheduling at this moment. And, yeah, this report will go to him for review as part of, what I would think is a preliminary building permit application process.
Wonderful. I think it'd be great to have him involved.
Yeah, no, we've had some discussions, but he hasn't had an opportunity to review detailed documents yet. But he may have more information on where the step is going to. I think there's lots of ideas of where it's going. So with sustainability experts.
maybe one way we could also, if we're not able to comply to any future step code, maybe we could be able to inform
Maybe.
that we could have at least a possible input that way.
I think whether it's step code, passive house, whatever the next building code and municipalities adopt. I mean, some municipalities are adopting passive house as a requirement, so. So there's lots of different sustainability measures out there right now that different organizations are adopting as mandatory requirements.
My concern is that we have a strong community presence of people who are trying to promote step code in the community. So to be able to show what we've done to be able to meet it,
Even if we're not required to.
required to, and how we've done our utmost.
That's why I think it's
We don't have
so
the criteria
important.
for it.
Yeah.
That's
There's
the
no
problem.
criteria, it's
There's no
not that we're
criteria
trying
for
to not.
public buildings, that's the problem.
There's commercial buildings
If
don't.
there is people in the community who are interested in promoting step code, they would understand that this building,
Absolutely, and if we can also show how we've been,
Yeah. I think part of it is educating public who generally have a vague idea of what this tech code is, but not a full understanding, and I think that's part of what you're saying as well, and that's where I think Greg could become involved, and I think it'd be really worthwhile. And then having that part of a RFAQs, if it's not
if
done
he,
already.
so I was gonna say, maybe he can help draft the
Yeah.
frequently asked question
Yeah.
response using the data contained in this report.
And part of it is just education about what the step code is, and, yeah.
That'd be really good.
All right. Design program update.
So, earlier this week, an updated set of design documents has been completed, and their team is going through coordination with all the disciplines, so your landscape architecture, your structural, your mechanical, electrical consultants, and there's been several meetings also with the civil engineer and civil consultant. Generally, by the end of the month, we're on track with the submission for costing. So the first 10 days of September is when the professional quantity surveyor will be taking this next set of documents, which are around a 60% complete construction drawings or working drawing state, will be costed. I think costed is a word, but they'll be priced based on the current level of completion. And that's
That's how this
on schedule with what we had for Gate 4 approval, which would be in October at some point. So we're on schedule with the design. There are elements that the design team needs some direction on from the steering committee. The
So.
detailed documents will be sent around, just a link for review if people
Okay.
want to look at detailed documents. They're not pretty picture documents at this point, they're incomplete construction documents.
So,
By when?
but you said they're wanting input from the committee, so
End of August.
Okay.
do we need to have another meeting then?
No, we don't need another meeting. The two main issues impacting the design team right now are related to the civil design, actually.
Okay.
And we had some discussion about that when we talked about the traffic piece, so that piece is a question for which they can't complete the design until we get some direction forward on that, so we'll move that forward. We've already talked about the street and off-site works. There's been a lot of discussion with Bob Robinson and the civil team about the different elements of scope of work, and I think there's some confusion right now on the scope of work on the civil side.
In what way, Sam?
The expectation right now, or communication coming, is that from the steering committee to date, is that we're keeping the design confined within the boundaries of the property lines. But now when we start doing this off-site design, we're going beyond that. So we're starting to expand the scope of the civil design. And we understand that added scope on the Bowen Island trunk road side of things. But we need to be very clear and provide direction on what is happening for the future development of the site to the north, and whether additional parking allowances are going to be done as part of this project, or if that's all future work. And my understanding today has been it's all future work, not part of this project. And so there would be no roadway potential extension, there would be no grading exercises to make ready the other area to the north of the site.
That's certainly the way I understand it.
That's the way we've been going at it, I think, from day
I
one.
know, but it is pretty short-sighted.
But,
No, having said that, we're talking about two different things here, Cap.
whose costs, who's paying for this? It's not a community center cost.
All I'm thinking, and that was a discussion I was gonna bring up, was, we should be sort of phasing this, because I wanna see all that land all the way around to the school. And I think we really have to push to get that land for expansion, because I think that's gonna be a big part of selling the community center.
No, that's what I mean.
And selling it
Yeah.
as a piece of the community campus.
Yeah.
So
But I don't think we have to think about costing that right now, so.
I 100% agree. I think what we just need to be clear on, if I could be told, sorry, you had your hand first.
I just have a question. What does the transition look like for this committee as we go to a new council?
It's in place. It will, the council members who are currently on this committee remain in place till November 5th.
To November 5th?
Yeah, and
okay.
then what will likely happen is we're going to have our committees on hiatus through November for the most part. I mean, the staff and consultant members will remain in place, but it will take council, I think, a couple of weeks to figure out who's going to be appointed to what committee.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. So November 5th is,
I think that's the date when the new council, when the inauguration
It's the
is.
first Monday in November.
No, we're doing it the Tuesday,
Tuesday, okay, so
Yeah.
that's,
because Kate Hill wasn't available.
and so this committee would then be presented to the new council for discussion of
Yeah,
whether or
which
not.
council member, who of council will be appointed to the steering committee?
But you say there won't be any meetings in November, so now we're
Well, there
talking.
could be if council,
Well, I guess it-
yeah, I mean, it all depends on how quickly the new council moves to making appointments to the
I did not
committees.
know I was going to Hawaii.
Well, November the 5th is a Monday.
So it's November the 6th is when
November
we
the
have our
6th is a
inaugural event,
Tuesday.
yeah.
So that's when we're going to be discussing in a closed.
You mean with the new council, or?
Nothing, no, I'll let that drop. Okay, but October is still an active month for
Yes.
this committee.
Absolutely, yeah. This council, even after the election, this council and the council members have valid authority until the new council is sworn in.
Because, yeah, I think for me, from what I'm hearing from the community, I don't think we've won the heart of the community yet on this project. And I think that to be able to do that is a discussion about what Gary was just saying about how we use the lands around to accomplish what we all, like, what
Yeah.
the community would
And that's what
like
I
to
meant
see.
by short-sighted, yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. And the other issue, of course, is parking.
So as part of,
So,
creating that.
sorry.
Is this
I'm just
part of
wondering if
the
we can have a
prevention?
further discussion at another committee meeting about lot rate, like
Mhm.
surrounding lands, to be able to keep this project.
Yeah, I mean, it is gonna be very difficult, and I think it wouldn't be appropriate for this council at this stage to make decisions about the surrounding lands.
But could the committee make a recommendation that could be in the public domain?
I think that's what the design team has been asking for some time, and
Absolutely.
that would show that this steering committee is trying to promote and the understanding of the issues that have been brought forward, and we've heard these issues over and over again.
Yeah.
Parking, family and children's safety at the back of the site,
Yeah.
and future expansion of the precinct of the civic center, not just the community center building.
Yeah. And it's important to get
Those
all
three
this
issues.
type of
You know,
information
all the
out
way, all the way back to here.
before this
basically
committee is
what we need.
potentially gutted.
Yeah,
All the way to the 3.
All the way to here, yeah.
that's what,
Yeah.
and then,
Just so there's a connection all the way through here.
Southwestern side of area 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so part of Bob's recommendations, which are great ones, but they add scope to this project, which are the future development of that expansion would be water main extension from here through here so that water could be over there.
so I think that is definitely a conversation for the future council, but I think it's definitely, we
Needs to
have,
be flagged by this committee.
yeah.
Well, we
Things
can't complete.
But water
Our
main
documents.
extension goes under a road,
Exactly.
so that road doesn't get paved until,
No, but it's about completing the design assignment we have in front of us. And we can't complete a design assignment without instruction to design that water main.
why would you have to design the water main?
Well, so it could be priced and included in the cost of the project.
But
because
why
right now
is the
it's not.
water main
Well, we're
to
not gonna,
service
we're not gonna
the
pay for
lands
a water main
beyond
into that lot.
anything to do with our project, other than ensuring there's an adequate right-of-way or road allowance that it,
Well,
or
having-
driveway that it could go under?
A road, a right-of-way or a roadway for it to go under does not add costs, but the recommendation from Public Works is to build it now and pave it once so that it can be tied
No.
into later. And what I'm saying is that's added scope, and so I've been trying to keep within the boundaries of our project, which are inside the property lines, but this is now within the property lines and added scope if you didn't want to do that work later. And if this steering committee wants to make a recommendation to, you know, future council, whatever, for those 3 issues, I think it adds weight, but then the other solution is in increasing the scope of the project right now to make
I think
allowances
we
for
can do it.
future,
I
but
don't
it's,
think
but
we
it's
wanna do
starting to
that.
add a
It's-
significant
it-
amount of cost.
And it's
Because
not
it's blasting
anything that
in
benefits the
stone.
project.
And it's just too
No.
late in this council term to make those, for them to make those kind of decisions.
Well, it's also just, the more the budget goes up, the more risk we've
Yeah.
got of getting grants and everything else, and people thinking
I-
it's realistic.
I really
I don't think
appreciate
we
that
could
Bob's
include it.
providing that sort of foresight, and I think
Yeah.
if it was any other time in this council term, I think we as a committee should force this council to deal with it, but we can't. It's too late, but I think again, this idea of having a report and recommendations to the next council.
Well, is there any reason why that road has to be paved initially? I mean, we
I
could say
think-
we are
I
deferring
think to finish,
paving it.
to finish the site, you would pave it for safety and other reasons, but I think roads
Well,
get
it's
dug
not,
up to
the
put
parking
new water
lot in Glen
mains.
Eagles is not paved,
It's true. It has
and
I think we
you,
might just have,
and you pave it,
there's strollers and,
well, you
Things,
have a
this is a
sidewalk.
more-
We're gonna have a sidewalk, right?
okay.
And
Don't
then,
argue.
and then you just, you gravel it, stop rolling your eyes, and you gravel it, and the reason it's being left in gravel, and it's, there's some pretty compacted gravel you can get,
I just think we're getting
is
too
so
much in the
that,
weeds.
Yep.
the future water main can be put in.
I have to be on a 4 o'clock water taxi because the
Yeah.
Bowen boat is running 20 minutes late. So, I mean, we just got a lot to get through
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
10 to 4.
But I do
I-
hear Melanie's comment about talking in terms of, or I don't know, sounding about community precinct is important to address that.
Oh,
And
the future stuff, yeah.
We need to make, and I love that approach, that this committee, with the current members of council, we need to flag things and make recommendations to the next council. Because we don't know what the makeup of this committee will look like in 2 months.
I also think we have an opportunity as well to put out into the open. I think there's certain subjects that are going to come up during the election time, and being able to give people an opportunity to sort of say, yes, this is something we would like, and there's also a place for it in the future.
Yeah.
I think would solve a lot of, because otherwise I think
If
people
we-
might try and bury this project because they don't see us ever getting a pool, and they'll,
Yeah. And whether there's enough room there for pool, that's another thing, but if there,
but if
If
we
they
can sort of say
don't
there's a place
see-
for the expansion of it, I think
There's potential, yeah.
that there's potential, and we're thinking about it.
This is phase one.
Well,
I think
that's,
we can at
you
least,
know,
But yeah, we need to
we
clear
go
the
back to
air.
that, and I guess maybe Sophie should be involved, but how do we communicate that without changing the whole sort of direction we're going? And just,
We do a report to council before this council term ends with flagging the concerns and future recommendations that this committee, the next iteration, will have to do. And so it's almost like it will be a legacy document for the next version 2 of this committee and our next council.
okay, so how does that
Can I,
change?
can I put two statements that I kind of noted, because a
Yeah.
long conversation with the design team. So they, what we came to was a recommendation for the steering committee to make a recommendation to the future council for allocation of land for future development of parking and expansion of civic facilities to the adjacent civic center, and to
Yeah.
review the safety of pedestrian crossing interfaces around the future development for the safety of young families in the school, avoid road crossings north of the community center. And that's trying to address the issues
Yeah.
that we keep
Yeah.
hearing, is that a road through the site to the north would create hazard. It should be designed as a driveway, it's not designed as a road. And parking is an issue, and future expansion is an issue. So if we can make some sort of recommendation on those
Well,
elements.
that recommendation was pretty good. What I'd like to stick in there is something about, so for future completion of the community campus.
Okay, but do they need that from us today?
They don't, what I need to go back to the design team with this week is clear direction on the scope of the design parameters and how we're going to procure construction. Those are separate from the recommendation, which would help alleviate the issues that keep driving the project.
So I think
Correct.
the recommendation should be something along the lines that we, at this time, we're sticking to the original scope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, and I
Mhm.
appreciate Bob's comments and foresight, but at this stage.
We all do, we all agree,
Yeah.
but we
But I
have to,
As-
boundaries, scope
Yeah.
boundaries and
As
project
far as
boundaries.
that
I think
direction
that
is
can be
concerned,
accommodated
absolutely.
as we go forward.
Absolutely, I agree.
With things like leaving the roadway gravel until they need it. and
Well, I don't
things
even
like
know if the main has to go through there. I don't know why it would go down.
But,
from the
I mean,
water,
that's
but-
Because it's
a whole
gonna-
other
it's gotta come
design
up and
problem,
it's
and that's
gravity
why
fed
it's
the
causing
other
the
way.
design team a headache right
yeah,
now, because.
so let's give them the firm
It's-
parameters.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we won't design extensions of the water main, sanitary, or other municipal services through the site. That's the
Yeah.
instruction I'll give the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And this committee, the steering committee, can make a recommendation to council or
We
future
can
council.
deal with
of
that
their
other
own.
one in our next meeting when we're
Mhm.
talking about everything
Yeah,
else.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because it'll also have to involve, if we do get some more land for an expansion into the community campus, then we're also, the funding's gonna have to come from the municipality. They wanna drive all their water mains and everything through there.
Yeah.
To that lot 2. I mean, we can't be expected to pay for all of that.
So all of that in a nutshell was only one of the issues.
No, yeah, what's the other, what's the other one?
The other one was a discussion we had all had several times about how to develop the construction documentation for procurement. And if you recall that discussion about 2 packages, do we do a civil early works package and a building package, or we do one combined package of this whole site development and get the facility?
You lost me.
Wow, me too, that's why I'm going to bathroom. Raj can be part of that.
The project documentation that's currently in development will eventually be put to the public marketplace, the
Okay.
general
Yeah.
contracting industry for construction. there is two types of industry experts for this type of development. There are civil general contractors and there are building general contractors. Both of them can do each other's work, but the tie-in of the design work for those experts to bid on would be referencing a contract model, either an MMCD, which is a municipal standard document for civil works, and another is the CCDC2. From a design team's perspective, the municipality might save 2 to 5% of the civil costs if they do separate packages. And that's a civil package first, tendered to civil contractors, and a second bidding package to general contractors for the building and the works associated with the building. The challenge with that from a hard cost perspective is now you need more staff within the municipality to manage those two packages because you are
Are they
managing
working concurrently or one after the other?
concurrently and one after another. So you have the other
Yeah.
risk to you is you have potentially 2 prime contractors for safety on one site, which is a no-no. And so the project management recommendation is to go with one package
Yeah.
because of the sophistication of Bowen Island in terms of managing large complex construction projects. And I know that you may,
Yes,
You saw you just did
you're
that.
right.
I just think
It's a reality,
there's
yeah.
complexity risk
Yeah.
in managing these 2 packages at the same time, and you need to have more resources available to do that. I would say that
How much more of those resources are gonna be in that 2 to 5%? What do you think the resource is gonna cost us?
I
So
don't know.
what's the net
It's-
difference gonna work out to
How much does it cost for Raj a year? You need another
Oh,
one of him,
Another one of him? Oh, God, we can't
and
afford
maybe
it.
another Shauna and Jackie.
Can't afford any of those.
So, from a project manager's recommendation, I would say try and bundle it as one package for the design team. And it makes procurement and management of the contract simpler. And I wanted to share that with the steering committee, get some thoughts or feedback, but. Do you need more information,
Can
related?
you lay that out in like a written
Yeah.
sort of document to us so we can have time to, I don't understand what you're talking about totally, even though you've gone over it and stuff, but if you could lay that out for us in maybe a one-pager
I can
in
do a
terms of
briefing
how
on
that works,
on the-
or a summary, and what you're recommending that we do, then I think we can kind of absorb it, and, because it's for future thought anyways, it's not something that we need. Am I correct on that? Like, it's not a
I think
decision that's.
by middle of September, we should have, like, I'd say actually
Yeah.
the first week of September, we need to have a decision on which way we're going, because now that we're at 60% complete working drawings
Yeah.
at the end of August,
Okay,
the design teams are going to either split their packages into 2 and start putting
Yeah.
notes on those packages related
Okay.
to the procurement.
okay,
And if it's 1, then they can coordinate with each other. If it's 2, they have to coordinate differently with each other with reference to the contract documents, a CCDC2 model or an MMCD model.
okay.
So, does it mean, so what you're saying, for the general contractor, if it's one package, we have one
GC,
general contractor who is gonna be liaising with the,
all the different trades.
all the
All the
different
different
trades,
trades,
All
yeah.
the,
all the different
consultants.
mechanical,
Yeah,
structural,
yeah,
electric. The other one is where we have 2 general contractors.
And the first general contractor will come in and he will do all the excavation and blasting and trenching and lay all the pipe within 1 meter of the building.
Okay,
And then you have to bury that infrastructure.
yeah,
And so we have to make a determination of whether it's the first GC burying it or it's the second one. And then we also have to hire the second general contractor to build all the structure, foundations, et cetera.
Which
build
means
the
more
building.
blasting and everything
Yeah,
else
or
already.
blast.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a risk that you didn't get the blasting correct the first round. And then you have to get the first general contractor back for the paving scopes of work and tying in the landscape to the building. So there's just construction management.
We won't like.
I think nobody wants
So,
one.
why is why is this even a question?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the money?
Potential to 3%.
And the money's
savings,
is gonna be what? Is it $100,000, $50,000?
How much are we talking
So
about?
are we talking about, also, can I just ask a quick question? You know how you talked about two? So you would still have a civil component, you would still have a
You still have to do all the work.
construction
You do all the
component,
work.
but you would have a third person who is the one
No.
who
No,
combines the two, or no?
There's
Okay.
no combination, the combination, it sounds like, comes from in-house
yeah.
Right.
managing that,
Okay,
two people.
You have
And-
two options, you have option A.
And there's costs obviously involved in that.
Okay.
You have A and you have B. In this one, you have an MMCD civil contract, and that's part one, let's call it phase one. And then you have phase two, which is a
CCDC.
CCDC two, and that's a GC for the building,
Okay.
and that's option one. And by doing this, the cost of the civil contract, I'm just gonna play with round numbers, so let's say this is 1 million. Total, let's say the total construction is 10 million, just for math, right? And this is 9 million. It means that this $1 million cost goes to the civil contractor, and he does the work. This 9 million goes to GC, does the building. And someone, myself, the team, has to coordinate the work between the two parties and make sure everything's completed. In how contract documents are written, when a general contractor has a sub, they usually have, you know, a 5,
they have a mark on for
10%
supervision,
markup
manage, marking,
for
yeah.
supervision. So in this option B, it's 1 CCDC
1
2
plus
document,
9 plus the number.
GC. So, you know, it's 10 million plus the markup
On
of
the
the
one,
civil.
but only on the one, so 5% of 1 million is how much?
$50,000.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna save as much as we're gonna have to spend in supervising it,
Yeah.
we're going with one.
I don't think so either. Kathy, you weren't here for the discussion, but if we have to have a whole bunch more people to,
Well, I
Manage two
just think
contracts
there's
and
more
all
risk
the.
as well,
Yeah.
communications time and more.
Yeah.
because that
I
$50,000
think a lot more
could
can
become
go wrong.
$10,000 pretty
A lot
fast.
more can go wrong, Renee.
So I
Yeah.
second Allison's
So-
motion.
We go with B.
That's,
Okay,
we're on board with B.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
all in
There's-
favor?
Sam will give you the wording for the motions, Deb.
Okay.
You can
Okay,
email
I
it
don't
to
need
me.
a briefing note?
No, no briefing now.
Yeah, we're briefing now.
You love that blackboard.
That illustration.
Yeah.
Um, Continuing on, the other update on design is the great work of the theater and acoustic consultant is well underway, and they've caught up to the rest of the team. So looking forward, the next steps are, like I mentioned before, sort of a pre-VP application meeting, understanding how we're going to do a building permit application, and very much more detailed coordination with you guys in terms of light switch locations and how does the security system work, where it's tied into, how many hours a day does this need to be open or closed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So be prepared for lots of hours of work.
Lots more hours of work.
More.
I'm
Just
sorry.
Actually, we're going to Europe.
More and more
All
work.
that money's raised so far.
And it's,
Further away.
I don't know, is this part of the closed meeting discussion?
No, we're not open.
We're still open.
No, but the more work.
Which,
Yes, it is part of the closed meeting.
Okay.
session.
So that's it from a design update, I hope. That wasn't too-
So, we answered your questions, I think.
That's perfect. No, I got a lot of instruction to give and we'll get going.
Yeah.
It might also, we are just from design, we've been invited by the design team to go to the Shadbolt Theater to look at their seating.
September 6th.
Oh.
Retractable seating that is happening September 6th. And it's the base of what we might be looking at to purchase, so we're gonna go.
Does anyone else want to join?
When is it?
September 6th.
I
You
think
won't.
I need to have
Oh, yeah, nice.
Now that you're.
Too bad.
It's a Thursday?
At what time?
You
Take pictures and send them to me.
11 a.m.
I'll look
Actually,
at, I'll look at my
but-
schedule, but I would love to go to that, but I don't know if September, it just seems like I'm there.
Could you send me a reminder that week, because I'm in town actually visiting the music theater that day.
Water meetings, I think.
We'll be back in touch.
Sure.
Those are the evening, Raj.
Maybe it's just,
Where's
Bowfest.
Shannon?
maybe.
Thanks for all the instructions.
No, it's for Deer Lake,
Dear Lord.
off of Canada Way.
Oh,
Okay.
what time are you going?
11
11 a.m.
Eleven is
Oh, I'd have to miss golf.
Have we done, we've
Right off
done
the Canada Way
5.6,
exit,
we've
right
done
when you get up,
5.6.
We've done 5.6.
I know, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we changed them all around.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
can I just, we have an invitation from the Parent Advisory Committee to attend one of their meetings in September, October.
Oh, good.
That'd be great.
So we
So
are
great.
we are setting up those type of appointments, so yeah, just let us know. and
That's a great
we'll show
Okay,
up.
so I will, I'll get in touch with the new chair of that, just to confirm. I
Thank you.
think that would be a really great opportunity to talk to parents directly.
Mhm.
And that's advisory to the PAC.
Yeah,
Great.
All right. Bowfest booth.
We have one coming up.
Yeah.
Presentation.
Bowfest booth, it will be there, Gary is transporting everything. We've already really talked about it, it's gonna be there, it's gonna happen. It's similar to Canada Day with all that material, except this time we're gonna have a cash box and an online donation platform.
Ooh, a little laptop.
And
We will have a laptop.
we will have a laptop, excellent. We've got lots of people from from the BIAC board this time, who are gonna be at the booth, which is great,
Yeah.
and lots of volunteers.
I'll be there most of the day, and Drew did call me and he's gonna pick up something
Yeah,
at the airport.
Drew's at the airport, he
Gonna
won't
try
be
to-
there, so it will be steering committee members and volunteers,
Yeah.
so that's great. And I think we're covered for the whole day.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
come in after the parade, when the thing opens, and
And if
I'll
you're
cover
dressing
off
up,
for Kathy. and-
Thank you.
Carnival.
Perfect.
So you can dress up for Carnival.
Oh.
Wear feathers.
Wear feathers.
Close meeting?
As my husband would say, you look
Wave
enough
a
like a
flag.
clown now, so you don't need to worry.
I told you.
No,
Well,
I
guess you
don't
guys
dress
have
up.
the video and stuff, or so.
Right?
So we're gonna move to the closed meeting under charter section, community charter section 90,
Well, just,
brackets 1, brackets K.
are we gonna decide on next meeting at the closed meeting? Because
Sure.
I think we need to decide on the next meeting, given all this discussion.
Sure, I think there's an item there, it's, get back here,
Well,
so.
we've got quite a bit happening on the September 4th council meeting, so should we meet right after that?
Probably a good
potentially?
idea. Debrief.
Yeah.
We will have detailed cost information in the second week of September. That would be another good
Should we
update.
try for that second Thursday?
Well,
Or that's UBCM.
UBCM is the week of the 9th.
Right.
Maybe we'll just do 2 meetings in September, one at the
So-
beginning, one at the end. Because I think maybe near the end of September, it'll be, I could do a project management report update and show you where we're at with the cost.
I think it's a darn fine idea.
So Thursday,
When are you
September
back?
20th?
October 4th.
You're really pushing your luck, aren't you?
betcha.
Wednesday, September 19th?
No, I'm at Trust Council. I could do Monday, the 17th, or Friday, the 21st.
I think Sam was talking about 2 meetings, one earlier in the month and then one later in the
I
month.
know, I just blocked that out. See what I did there? Okay, how about September 4th?
That's the council, that's-
Thursday, September
council's at
6th.
We're at the Shadbolt.
4 to about 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with Monday, September the 17th?
We're gonna go to the beginning of the week.
Sam was talking about a meeting early in the month and then later in the month.
Oh, I thought he changed his mind from early to.
Oh.
No,
Yeah.
we're talking, I think there is,
Oh, she
need,
doesn't have
She's not
especially
here anyway.
while this.
Oh, let's
yeah.
Friday it up then.
Well, Friday the 7th?
I've got housing committee at 9:30, maybe at 1.
Well, we can meet without you.
Well, where are you gonna meet and who's gonna film it?
At Kathy's office.
I think these are important meetings.
Yeah, and the mayor has my office for the month of September.
Oh,
What about the 5th, Wednesday the 5th?
Well, what about 1 o'clock on the Friday?
What's wrong about 1 o'clock?
Oh, sorry, 1 o'clock on the 7th?
Does that work?
The
Yeah.
seventh
Well,
is
It's getting very
Friday.
close to Friday night.
Could we move it earlier in the morning?
no, that was a
The
house.
Steph's
meeting.
got
Oh,
something else.
Can we do this, I'm just wondering, what about the 6th?
No, that's the
We're at the
Shad
Shad
Bowl.
Bowl.
Oh, that's the
We
Shad.
are going to.
Okay.
The morning of the Wednesday, the 5th.
What about the,
Well, we're all
7
gonna
a.m.
have like, I'm okay for Friday at 1.
Okay.
Friday
at
1
1?
is good, yeah.
Okay, Friday, 1 p.m.
September 7th.
We'll all be over at council hangover on the 5th.
What's that?
Mumbling is
I
bad.
must have other things
I
like
might
that,
have,
yeah.
You guys
I might have
don't
to
need
stay
to.
overnight somewhere. Yes, we do.
Oh, for the council meeting? No, it will be over, because they start at 4.
Yes.
So, we figure what, Raj, 9 meeting will be over, council?
the council meeting?
Yeah.
Step
Nine
one
at
at the
the-
end of the month, or a
We have a
class?
public
Okay,
hearing squeezed in there too.
Yeah,
What?
what's exciting on the 4th there?
No,
Oh,
Saturday?
there's so much, I can't even begin
So
to
much.
describe.
So much.
Saturday.
All right, it's in my
It's
calendar
graphic.
for 1 o'clock on the
That's gonna
7th.
be the 20th.
You're coming on the 7th?
I would come on the 7th.
Okay.
And then-
Okay.
And then later in the week,
End of the month.
and
Oh,
so
wow.
24th on, I'm not here, I'm gone between the 19th and the 29th.
25th, 26th?
The
Well,
26th?
we've got a council meeting on the 24th, so we couldn't do that in.
Actually, I'm back on the 25th, so 25th is possible.
I don't like the 26th.
Okay, 25th, I've got between 1 and, like, I only have 1 o'clock.
I could do the 25th at 1 o'clock. I could do the afternoon of the 27th.
27th is free. You guys want to do the morning?
But I can't do the morning.
So 25th?
I am
okay.
returning the
It's
wind-up
tricks.
luncheon for the golf course. This lady's the first time in
I-
10 years.
if
this
you're-
year.
Good on the 27th. I think it's better for you to get back and have a day or two to look at a cost report before you come to a meeting.
Okay.
So, did you say 1 o'clock on the 27th?
1:30
1:30?
or 2 would be even better.
Why not 2:35?
Right when you have to get the kids.
September 27th, 1:30.
But that doesn't work well for you, does it, Melanie?
Oh, do you know, not much longer to deal with any scheduling conflicts.
Okay.
Do Netflix. Council office.
I'll bring my other.
With Murray.
So
Yes.
September 27th.
You can babysit.
September 27th at 1:30.
Okay, 1:30.
Beauty.
At least gives me a chance to eat it.
Did you still want to take a break?
No, I don't need to take a break.
I never realized it was this thick.
He wants to read this material.
So we're done? We're closing it down?
Closing it down.
Okay.